G'day, it's Rod here again. Well, in my earlier videos you would have seen me countless times use this air die grinder and this smaller pencil air die grinder to do work on the lathe. I actually mount this in the tool post and use it as a tiny little tool post grinder at times. Super handy tools, both of them. Quite cheap. I mean, both of these you can buy them for about, no more than $30 if you look around, and I think they're indispensable. But of course you have to have an air compressor to run these, and I mean, while this one uses 2 cubic foot of air per minute and will run off of just about any air compressor, this one uses 9 cubic feet per minute, and that's a lot of air. And my air compressor, even though it's quite a good sized one, is 7 cubic foot. So when I use this, the air compressor is running flat out, and if I use this and the air gets down and I'm using it as a tool post grinder, that means the air compressor and the lathe are both running at the same time, which means it puts a fair draw on the household electrical supply, or to the workshop anyway. So okay, there's got to be an alternative, and there are alternatives to these tools. You can get Dremels. A Dremel is sort of like a lower powered version of these. These are safe because you can use them in wet areas and you're not going to get electrocuted, and they're all much more powerful than a Dremel because they're driven by 120 psi, air pressure. Same with these are quite powerful as well. So what I'm coming to is, okay, you haven't got an air compressor, you don't want to buy an air compressor. Dremels are okay, but they can't do this sort of work with a big disc like this. So I looked around to see what you can get as far as a tool that would basically do both these functions and run off 240 volt. And I'll show you what I got. So here it is. Once again, Banggood have generously come to the party and best bang for your buck, supplied a product that I can check over. Now this is a product that isn't available through the major power tool suppliers in my state. I haven't seen it, I've looked around for it, and they don't have this exact configuration. They have sort of larger type Dremels, but then you step up to a major full-size tool grinder, where this is an in-between thing. It's basically advertised as a variable speed electric drill grinder rotary tool. And Banggood do 2 models of this. They do the Dill Pro and they do the Hilda. Now they're both 220 volt, 400 watt variable speed, and they both come with quite a large accessory kit. The Hilda has less accessories and is cheaper, but the accessories look more useful, and that's what I've asked them to send me, the Hilda. Quite nice of them too. They've actually sent an adapter which runs the tool off of Australia type plug, so that's great. First time I've got one of those from Banggood. So here's the product. Hilda obviously make a lot of stuff, and it doesn't actually show, at least it does. Here's the product we're going to be looking at here. That's the configuration. Plastic body but metal end, which is easier to mount, much more rigid to mount than say one of these or one of these or one of these. if you're going to try and use it on your tool post. And that's down the track, that's what I want to do with this, see if I can use this mounted on the tool post as a tool post grinder. But being 400 watt for that versus 120 or 150 watt for these types of smaller units, this should be much more capable, and it should mount quite easily and be pretty rigid. So we'll open up the box and see what's in there. Well, I've opened the box up and you can see what's there. There's the unit, which is quite a large unit. It's bigger than I expected. But it's, of course, for 400 watt it would have to be a fair size, quite solid. And it's got a European type plug, I'm not sure. Anyway, we've got an adapter that'll fit that. There's a cutting disc cover, a shield, so that goes on there, I presume, to protect you from debris. There's a couple of brushes which should be in this little bag, but they'd fallen out and were floating around, but at least you get 2 spare brushes, which is good. A certificate of quality, a pack of diamond burrs, quite good, and a little kit here with a whole lot of sanding cylinders and some wire brushes, and yeah, we'll take all that out and have a good look at it. Now, the Hilda has a 76 piece accessory kit, so I suppose they count up everything that's in these boxes. The Dual Pro has 161 pieces, but as I said, I don't think it's as good a kit. You make your own mind up on that. So, the actual unit, how do we get this off? Oh, here we go. It's quite a well-made looking thing. On-off switch. Variable speed with indents, so it's not just, it feels good and solid, everything feels really nice. Yeah, it looks like a good unit. And replaceable brushes. And, okay, there we go, she's off. Oh yeah, nice. It's a well-made looking thing. The chuck looks quite good quality. And this is aluminium, metal. Wow, pretty neat. Yeah, that looks impressive. When you think this is only $30, I mean that's good. I mean an angle grinder would cost you that, you know, of similar quality. Yeah, I think this is quite a good deal by the look of it. Now there's a user manual here, and it's got Chinese in it, but it's also got English. So this is both. It's yeah, just the basic, you know, don't touch the motor while it's going sort of thing. Just the basic stuff you get with all these power tools, but at least they have got English version of the manual, which is a good thing. Now we've got a chuck key, which fits nice. Yeah, the chuck seems like a pretty reasonably well-made chuck. Now it's a 1/4 inch chuck on these. Now with the other air die grinders I showed you, they don't have a chuck, they have a collet. Collets are better than a chuck in one way, that they grip the stuff harder and they don't slip, but they do restrict you to one size, 1 or 2 sizes, and that's it. You know, you generally get a couple of collets which are interchangeable. One will be, say, 3mm, and one could be, you know, a bit larger, because you're dealing with a standard size with these burrs and things. And most of the stuff is 3mm for the small stuff, and then when you go to the bigger air grinders, they step up to, I don't know, 1/4 inch, I think. I'm not sure. I have to check. But with a drill bit, with a chuck, you can fit just anything you want in there, and provided you do it up firmly, it should still do the job. So that's what they've got a chuck on there. It's universal in its application. Okay, I'll take some of this wrapping off and see what else we've got. I must say everything's really well wrapped. The containers are good quality. Everything about this really, it spells quality. It really is very, very, very well put together. You get a whole lot of little sanding discs. You get various size arbors for the discs, 2 sizes. These little arbors take the little diamond cutting discs and the ordinary serrated cutting discs. They would also take the smaller size friction discs, which I've got a heap of, the same as you'd use on a Dremel. You get a carbide burr, quite a heavy one, some more diamond burrs, a couple of stainless steel brushes and then an ordinary brush, a little wrench. You even get extra dividers for the box, which is a nice touch. As I said, the box is quite well made. The shield is quite good looking. It's yeah, it looks like a quality job. Even a little Allen key for that, Allen wrench. So overall, you know, this is top stuff. No wonder, you know, people are buying these. And here's the set of diamond burrs you get, which look pretty good. This is all 3mm. It's a standard Dremel type size stuff. This is bigger than 3mm. It doesn't matter, because as you've got a chuck, you can fit anything you want in the unit. So yeah, the accessory kit is really good that comes with this. So yeah, once again, this is the Hilda. So I suppose a bit more about the Hilda. Now the Hilda spins at 5,000 to 28,000 RPM. The Drill Pro, and they're both 400 watt machines, the Drill Pro spins at 6,000 to 32,000 RPM. So the Hilda spins a bit slower. And I went for the Hilda also because I think that would possibly give it a bit more torque down low. And with this type of unit, it's not like an electric drill where it's got a geared head. This spindle would be running, I expect, straight off the end of the armature. So you're getting armature speed. And once again, as there's no gear reduction, it means that drilling heavy work at low speed on this could stress them out. These are really a die grinder, you know, these are really meant for light, high speed work or light, low speed work, not really heavy work, I don't think. But once again, I don't know how gutsy this thing is. We'll have to try it out and see. So I suppose that's the next step. Let's give it a go and see what it does. Right, I've plugged it in, so let's turn it on. You can feel a bit of a tingle through it, a bit more than, say, an angle grinder. Vibration, it's acceptable, but there's a bit there. Now, one thing I want to check is to see how powerful it is, so what I'll do is I'll take the cutting disc out of the air die grinder that I normally use, and I'll put it in this and we'll see how it goes on some steel. Right, well, this is the cutting disc that I would normally use in this die grinder, which is basically, I think, the equivalent. Once again, this is spinning at similar sort of RPM, about 30,000. Now we'll put this in the chuck and we'll try it on some steel. Now you won't get this size, you don't get this size arbor in the kit, so you have to make one up, but they're pretty simple to make all out. It's just a bolt with a razor, your washer on the back, and put a lock nut on and you're good to go. So the actual making of those, piece of cake really. I might do a video down the track to show you how to do it, but it's pretty simple. Right. In she goes. Now these discs are really good for cutting off small bolts or cutting slots in light steel or well, anything. Actually this chuck goes up quite nicely. It seems like a pretty good quality chuck. I noticed with the Dill Pro you get a little collet, a couple of collets which will take 3mm, and so they actually act as a cushion between the burr or whatever and the chuck jaws. So you get sort of, there are 3 slot collets, so you sort of get collet effect within a normal 3-jaw chuck. So that feels okay. Yeah, it smooths out with a bit of a load on it. That's better. So all right, I'll put some steel in the vise and we'll do some cutting. Right, well this is exactly the sort of job I'd be using it for. Cutting off a piece of rod or a thread, shortening a bolt. That would have been a major use for a tool like this for me. And of course, you've got the ability to use burrs in it and open out holes, so we'll try it out. Wow. Now, what was that on? That was on maximum. No shortage of horsepower there. I'll wind it back a bit. Go on to number 4 and give it a go. Wow, this thing's got some guts, that's for sure. That was a piece of cake. How good is that? Now, I could put the plastic shield on it, but the problem is if you use a plastic shield to do this sort of work, it's going to melt it. So really this shield's only really good for using the die grinder with burrs. Even then the burrs can put out pretty hot bits of steel. If you're using a cutter like this, well, you want a metal one of these, and you can buy this type of air die grinder with a steel shield built into them. I've never had a disc explode on me, but you know, you've got to wear eye protection of course and stay out of the line of fire, but it just shows you, yeah, this certainly can do the job. Got a little bit warm, you can feel it heat up, but of course today it's another 35 C plus day in Adelaide, so it's a hot day, so it's pretty warm at the moment in the shed, so, but it didn't get hotter than you'd expect. The airflow sucks in through the back and comes out through the front, so it's not sucking any of the crap back through the motor, which is a good thing. I was a bit worried about that. I mean, that's how most angle grinders work also. They suck in through the grip and blow out through the front, so it minimises the chance of cuttings and stuff going through the motor. Here's another typical job you could do with one of these. How good's that, eh? I mean, once again, as I said, this is only going to be good for stuff for stopping cuttings that don't get too hot. Otherwise, I think they'll just wreak havoc on it. I mean, you certainly wouldn't want to use this with those cutting discs. The sparks would eat hell out of it. All right, we'll try this. See how she goes. Beautiful. Really good. And you can see the shield stopped the stuff coming back on you. So yeah, it's a useful addition for this sort of work, you know, if you're working on, yeah, stuff that doesn't get too hot. Actually, before we put a burr in, we'll drill a hole so we can then open it up. So we tried this out as a drill. I've got that little drill bit they gave us. We'll give it a go. Slow it down a bit on that. Wow, no worries at all. That was on number 2. On number 3, or not, put on number 4. Wow, awesome. Okay, let's do the carbide on number 1. Crank her up. Number 3. So it looks like instead of having to pump up the air compressor to a full tank just to cut a bolt or, you know, grind something back, I can now use Hilda, save heaps of electricity, and it's going to be instantly ready to go. Whereas before with an air tool you've got to pump the tank up, it takes a while, and then basically you only use part of the air to run the tool for a while. It's pretty wasteful. So yeah, electric die grinder makes a lot of sense. Is this better than an air die grinder? No, it's not. Air die grinder will run cool all day, whereas this will heat up. An air die grinder also is silky smooth from my experience. This vibrates quite a bit more than an air die grinder. So for short-term use, quick start up and use, great. But for long-term use, no. Air die grinder is definitely better than this. But it's horses for courses. Well, in closing, what more can I say? It's a fabulous unit. It's what every workshop really wants. If you haven't got an air compressor and you want to have a die grinder, a gutsy die grinder, or a super gutsy Dremel, okay, it's a bit more cumbersome than a Dremel to use, but it's still quite manageable, and it's just, wow, plenty powerful enough. As a candidate for a tool post grinder, I think this is brilliant. 400 watts. I've seen where they under test these units normally pull about 500, or can pull 500, so even at 500 watt, it's well within the scope of running a lathe and a tool post grinder at the same time. It's certainly a lot better than running a lathe and a big air compressor like I do, which is pushing your amperage in the workshop way up. So what's it miss out on? Well, it doesn't miss out on anything really, except for the ability to take this size cutting disc, these larger discs, which this thing can handle no problem whatsoever. It's totally capable of having these. So all we have to do is make up a little arbor for it, and very simple, nothing much to it. Be good to go. So yeah, do that, and this thing will be something that you use all the time. I can see it, you know. I mean, I use my standard die grinder cut off unit all the time, and once again, this is going to be good. And you can use the little discs for small nuts and bolts, you know, fine stuff. This is good, great for bigger work, slotting and that. Overall, wow, this has to be a total 10 out of 10. And what more can I say? So the links are in the video description. At the current price, $30, or actually $29.99 US. I believe there's a Valentine's Day offer going at the moment. If you want one, get in quick and get one, because it's got to be a bargain. Great tool. Okay, that's it from me. See you next time. Cheers.